An international group of think tanks from 39 countries has signed a letter on July 3rd supporting the people of Hong Kong and condemning the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, for imposing a draconian security law on the city. The letter stated, the law is intended to allow mainland authorities to crush freedom in Hong Kong and extend absolute CPC, Communist Party of China, rule. The letter was signed by member organizations of the Economic Freedom of the World Network, which is led by Canada's Fraser Institute. On June 30th, China's rubber-stamp legislature, the National People's Congress, NPC, passed the Hong Kong security law, which is in direct violation of the One Nation, Two Systems principle. It criminalizes individuals for any acts of subversion, secession, terrorism, and collusion with foreign forces, with maximum penalties of life imprisonment. The Chinese regime will also establish a security bureau that would instruct and supervise the city government over the law's implementation. Individuals who reside outside Hong Kong and who violate the security law would also be subject to prosecution, according to Article 38. The letter said that Hong Kong has become one of the most prosperous, entrepreneurial, and freest places in the world since the Second World War. However, Communist China has been attempting to strip away the city's freedom and undermining the one country, two systems principle. The open letter calls for global response to the CCP's threats. This is a global tragedy, Fred McMahon, the Dr. Michael A. Walker Chair of Economic Freedom Research at the Fraser Institute, told the Epoch Times. It makes a lie of the CPC's, Communist Party of China, agreement to respect the one country, two systems agreement. It tells everyone who hasn't already gotten the message that any treaty with the CPC is worthless. McMahon said Canada should do more to support Hong Kongers' fight for freedom, such as following the United States to impose sanctions on China. Democratic nations should immediately start procedures to expel China from the World Trade Organization. The CPC routinely violates WTO rules, just like it has violated its agreement on Hong Kong. Expelling China would not only send a strong message, but help right the world trading system, he said. On June 30th, the CCP's rubber-stamp legislature voted to pass the Hong Kong version of the national security law, regardless of international opposition. In response, many democratic countries have severely condemned the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, for breaking its promises and have introduced various policies to sanction the CCP while taking concrete actions to support Hong Kong people. In the evening of June 30th, Julian Braithwaite, the UK's ambassador to the WTO and UN, delivered a cross-regional joint statement on behalf of 27 countries to the 44th UN Human Rights Council. Some of the 27 countries include the United Kingdom, Japan, Germany, Australia, and Canada. The joint statement urges the CCP to reconsider the imposition of such law. The statement said, "We urge the Chinese and Hong Kong governments to reconsider the imposition of this legislation and to engage Hong Kong's people, institutions, and judiciary to prevent further erosion of the rights and freedoms that the people of Hong Kong have enjoyed for many years."
The 27 countries that supported the statement are European and American countries that have mature democratic systems and possesses developed economies. This is exactly why these nations know how destructive this Hong Kong national security law is on a democratic political system and on a free economy.
The Foreign Office of the UK has summoned the Chinese ambassador Liu Xiaoming to make clear the UK's deep concern over the new Hong Kong national security law. It is only the second time a Chinese ambassador has been called to the Foreign Office over Hong Kong since 1984. Scott Morrison, Prime Minister of Australia, indicated that granting asylum visas to Hong Kong people has been taken into consideration.
If you're asking, are we prepared to step up and provide support, the answer is yes.
The United States has taken several measures to respond to the CCP's oppression of human rights. The Senate and the House of Representatives introduced the Hong Kong Safe Harbor Act to provide Hong Kong people priority refuge. The main provisions of the bill allow the Trump administration to designate residents of Hong Kong as victims of persecution and priority two refugees, allowing them to apply directly to the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program, not counted against the president's refugee cap. It would extend the offer to their spouses, minor children, and Chinese parents. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo announced that the United States will today end exports of U.S. origin defense equipment and will take steps toward imposing the same restrictions on U.S. defense and dual-use technologies to Hong Kong as it does for China. Pompeo emphasized that this action targets the Chinese Communist regime, not the Chinese people, and that the U.S. cannot risk these items falling into the hands of the People's Liberation Army, whose primary purpose is to uphold the dictatorship of the CCP by any means necessary. Mike Pompeo expressed in a press conference that he hopes the world can recognize the global threat the CCP poses.
We'll continue to do all the things that we can, and importantly, we will continue to build out a global coalition that understands the challenge that the Chinese Communist Party threat places on freedom-loving peoples all across the world. This isn't a U.S.-China challenge. This is a challenge that is between freedom and authoritarianism.
The U.S. Congress has also pushed the Trump administration to sanction the Chinese Communist Party. The Hong Kong Autonomy Act has been passed by both the Senate and the House of Representatives and was sent to the White House for President Trump to sign. It will be immediately effective as soon as President Trump signs it. This bill urges the U.S. government to sanction Chinese officials and entities that threaten and undermine Hong Kong's autonomy, and also to impose secondary sanctions to banks that have business transactions with those entities. The bill is very powerful. Republican Congressman Michael McCaul, Vice Chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, said that the world must win the fight against the CCP.
This is a battle between democracy and dictatorship, between liberty and tyranny, and between freedom and oppression. And it is a battle that the world must win.
Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, expressed that after examining the contents and implications of the Hong Kong version of the National Security Law, Canada has decided to impose the same restrictions on the exports of sensitive products to Hong Kong as it does for China.
Effective immediately, Canada will not permit the export of sensitive military items to Hong Kong. We are also suspending the Canada-Hong Kong extradition treaty and updating our travel advisory for Hong Kong.
Trudeau also indicated that Canada will continue to work with its allies on follow-up measures, which include protecting the 300,000 Canadians residing in Hong Kong and assisting Hong Kong people moving out of Hong Kong. As of now, about 50 Hong Kongers who participated in last year's anti-extradition bill protests are seeking political asylum in Canada. The Japanese legislature has also recently passed a resolution of censure, expressing solemn and heavy concern over the Japanese government inviting Chinese President Xi Jinping to visit Japan as a state guest. The resolution requires the Japanese government to protect Japanese citizens with adequate measures and also to consider issuing visas to Hong Kongers to work legally in Japan. The European Union, which is scheduled to hold a foreign ministers' meeting on July 13th, is also expected to discuss the implementation of the national security law and human rights in Hong Kong. Germany is currently the host nation of the EU. Chancellor of Germany Angela Merkel indicated that an open dialogue will discuss the rule of law, human rights, and the future of Hong Kong. She has also expressed her concerns about the erosion of Hong Kong's important principle, one country, two systems, and urged the European nations to be assertive and speak with a common voice to China.
Floods in China have been raging for nearly 2 months since mid-May, affecting tens of millions of people in 26 provinces and cities across the country. According to the China Meteorological Administration, CMA, however, another round of heavy rainfall is expected to hit the southwestern part of the country, as well as the middle and lower sections of the Yangtze River. Not only has the rain been rampant in southern China, but the northern city of Qifeng in Inner Mongolia has also been hit by floods triggered by heavy rains. A number of towns and cities have already been flooded. Heavy rains continue in southern China, and 304 rivers now have water levels above the alert level. On July 2nd, the first flood peak of the Yangtze River was reached upstream, causing the inflow of the Three Gorges Dam to surge to 53,000 cubic meters per second. The Three Gorges Dam opened its floodgates 24 hours a day to release floodwaters and save the dam, causing the water level of Dongting Lake and Poyang Lake to rise, increasing flood damage in Hunan, Hubei, Anhui, and other downstream provinces. CCP's Xinhua website said the Ministry of Water Resources upgraded its emergency response level for flood and drought disaster prevention on July 4th. The Dongting Lake's iconic hydrological station, Chenglingji Port, rose to an alert level of 32.5 meters at 6 p.m. on July 4th and is on a rising trend. the water level of Dongting Lake has been continuously rising recently. According to the data monitored by China's hydrological agencies, the water levels in the West Dongting Lake and the South Dongting Lake have exceeded the alert level, and the situation is critical. Alarming flooding has been observed in 16 rivers, including the Changjiang and Le'an rivers in Jiangxi and the Shuiyang River in Anhui. At 8 p.m. on July 4th, the water level in Taihu Lake was 3.94 meters, 0.14 meters above the alert level, 3.8 meters. The water level at 26 stations surrounding the lake area exceeded the warning level by up to half a meter. Liangtan Station, at the main stem of the middle part of the Yangtze River, was also predicted to rise to the alert level in the early hours of July 5th. A flash flood in Zhangjiajie, Hunan Province, was reported to have swept away students.
The school is an elementary and a secondary school in Zhoujiagang Township, Xili County, Zhangjiajie. The water in the back of the house was so strong that it collapsed the entire back wall of the house, and after it collapsed, all the water flooded in. Students were now on vacation, and there were about 30 to 40 students in a class.
It can be seen in the video posted by netizens that floods hit the back wall of the elementary school building, causing damage to classroom doors, windows, and playground fences. Parents, teachers, and children were all crying out in the muddy playground looking for other missing children. Although the official CCP media has come out to say this was an internet rumor, residents of Zhangjiajie said that some students really were washed away by the water.
The teacher sent a WeChat message calling for other government officials and surrounding civilians to come and rescue the students. I was in the water myself. There were more than 20 people who were washed away at that time, and many of them were rescued. There should be 10 or so students missing, and 2 or 3 of them could have died.
Starting July 4th, a new round of heavy rainfall is expected to arrive in the eastern part of southwest China, Jianghan, Jianghuai, and northern Jiangnan. After a few days, some of the above areas will experience heavy to severe rainstorms, which are expected to turn into localized heavy rainstorms accompanied by strong convective weather such as thunderstorms and high winds. The heavy rains have not only hit southern China, but have just recently hit northern Inner Mongolia's Chifeng City, where some towns were flooded by flash floods caused by heavy rains. A number of towns have been inundated by the floods. A video posted by netizens showed that some towns in Chifeng City were hit by floods, and all of a sudden, the roads were inundated by roaring floodwaters with sand and floating debris. A flood in Shanzuizi village, Sanguangdi, Songshan district has caused 2 people to be swept away, one of whom was killed.
After the Grasshopper disaster in Ningyuan County, Hunan Province, in mid-June, significant swaths of agricultural land in China's Guangxi and Guilin are now also suffering from invading grasshoppers. Farmers affected by the disaster revealed that this is the first time the area has been hit by grasshoppers, with crops being severely destroyed. The local government did not provide any relief and only sprayed 1 round of pesticides, which was not enough to stop the grasshoppers. Recently, netizens from mainland China posted several videos and pictures showing grasshoppers ravaging Quanzhou County, leaving the crops severely damaged. One of the videos showed a farm fence and farmers' clothes loaded with grasshoppers. The camera person said they had never seen anything like this before. Mr. Zhao, a farmer in Shaoshenzhen of Quanzhou County, said that the plague of grasshoppers has never happened in the area. The plague started in early June.
The grasshoppers plague broke out on a large scale, and they eat anything and everything. There are no leaves left on the crops. The grasshoppers eat citrus, corn, rice, and vegetables, and even the willow trees planted on the riverbank to avoid floods are all being eaten. The loss is huge, but we will have to replant everything and wait for the recovery.
As of now, several towns in Quanzhou County have experienced the grasshopper plague, with Shaoshenzhen being the worst hit town. Trees and agricultural crops there are severely damaged. Farmer Mr. Liang from Anhexiang said that the grasshoppers had been reduced after the spraying of pesticides, but they have not been eradicated yet.
There are many grasshoppers on the grains and trees, eating the leaves of citrus and rice. There are some in the rivers, too. One day, helicopters and drones came to spread pesticides, and the damage was reduced a little.
Another farmer from Shaoshuijin, Mr. Yang, indicated that the area has had no drought this year, providing moisture to duel the explosion of grasshoppers that broke out overnight. According to his understanding, He Xingchun was severely affected. He continued,
We have a lot of citrus growing here, and about 10 acres of citrus in He Xingchun was all eaten by the grasshoppers. We have no idea where they came from.
In mid-June, another agricultural area, Ningyuan County of Hunan Province, also suffered from a plague of grasshoppers. They crawled all over residential yards, leaving residents unable to open their doors and windows. In early June, a large amount of grasshoppers, with a density of up to 50 grasshoppers per square meter, could be seen across many large agricultural cities and counties in Jilin Province and in Heilongjiang Province.